the program educational objectives in the morning session. So I will just, and we were also discussing that how many POs should be defined and how many POs should be designed. As I said, that the thumb rule is around 4 to 6 POs should be framed, and they should be consistent with the mission of the institution and the various constituencies. They must be documentative and with the involving program constituencies, and periodic review and revision of these objectives is also necessary. I had many questions regarding that, whether the POs can be reviewed or they can be revised or not. Yes, they can, but there should be a solid ground, and at least after 1 or 2 batches. इसको बंद कर, अभी नहीं। So if you want to, if the POs are need a revision, that should be at least like at least 1 or 2 batches, or at least one batch which you have the data of 3 to 5 years. On that basis, you can revise or you can review the POs. It cannot be that every year the POs may be revised. So, and strong background should be there, that what is the need, that why POs are revised, right? So they may be guided by global and local needs, as I mentioned, where the company or where the institute is present, what is at the wider perspective, that after completion of the degree, where our maximum students, whether their interest into the higher studies or there is interest into the jobs. So what are their long-term goals, what are the short-term goals? You can have a feedback mechanism, in fact, to check that what are the goals of the students. On that basis, you can frame the program educational objectives. And yes, as I said, continuously the stakeholders input should be taken, right? Especially the alumni. So a proper committee should be formed for framing the POs and for um, modifying the POs, right? So the it should be in consultation with the industry, faculty, some professional bodies, parents, students, and alumni. Once their input is taken, either through some forms or some, you can call them and have a brainstorming session, or you can give them some feedback forms and take their inputs and analyze those inputs to come up with the POs. So that is some data which you can have from the management also, and data on the trends of development in the profession. So all these things together, you can then frame the PEOs, right? So process for POs is, as I said, feedback format. You can have, you can create some a process to evaluate and review and all. Okay. So another thing is, first thing is formulation. Second thing is attainment. As I mentioned in the morning also, that we should not only be concerned with the planning part. Yes, these are the POs, but we are more concerned about the attainment, especially for the accreditation. Also, when the committee comes, they are more focused and they are more interested in knowing whether how much at what level you have attained the POs. So POs can be judged by like performance indicator, like how many percentage of graduates will enroll for MTech or PhD program, how much percentage of graduates have they have rose to the senior position in 3 to 5 years of time, how many of them are going for entrepreneur activities, how many are going for international cross culture environment and all. So various parameters you can see, and then you can have the data from the alumni network, that where your students are placed, right? So there are two type of assessment tools: direct tools and indirect tools. So direct tools means like you can have that how many students have got the placement, because when they are getting the uh, campus placement, you have the direct data, that how many number of students were there, how many have passed, right? What is the uh, like what is the result and what is the this one session. So this is the direct mapping, right? Indirect mapping, then you have the like placement record is also a sort of direct, but higher studies record, because some of the students they opt for higher studies after 2 years. Usually the trend in the engineering is that students take the job in the campus placement, and then after getting the 2 years experience, then they shift to the for the higher studies. So for higher studies, how many gate scores, right? Some surveys can be taken from the stakeholders, alumni survey, or all these. So you should have the forms, and if you see the frequency, placement once a year, higher study once a year, gate score, stakeholders. So these are once a year frequency. So, but there should be certain specific forms, either Google form, hard copies, whatsoever. There should be forms which should be circulated to the various stakeholders, and that data should be taken and then analyzed to check whether the POs have been attained or not. So main thing is attainment of POs. That is more important, right? Any questions up to POs? Right. Then you have the program outcomes. As I mentioned, now the graduate attributes of the Washington Accord are the fixed program attributes, program outcomes for the engineering, also for the engineering colleges. For Polytechnic also, they are going for a Dublin Accord, but still some of the program outcomes are fixed by the AICT. So I won't go into these details, but there are 12 program outcomes, and if you see the first five programs are domain specific, right? So engineering knowledge, whether our students are able to apply the knowledge of maths and science, are they able to review research literature, analyze complex problems, design problems. So at every Bloom's level, and then that is domain specific, whether if you are electronics engineer, or your computer, or a mechanical or civil. So all these are five are domain specific. Then the remaining seven are generic, engineer and the society. How the engineering is, or the students are using their knowledge for the societal setup, right? How they are, what responsibilities they are sharing, how they are helping, whether it is society, health, legal, or culture, or whatsoever. Environment, ethics, how they are committed to professional ethics or not, right? You know, in foreign countries, your admission to the higher uh, like BTech or MTech, वहाँ पे they don't have the exam. They will see how many hours you have spent for the society, how many hours you have spent for the environment. You know, all these things play a very important role, because they are not interested only in the knowledge part of the student or intelligence part, but also onto the overall holistic development of the student. So how student is committed to the environment, how his knowledge is being used for the sustainable development, right? Similarly, ethics, professional ethics, okay, teamwork, individual and teamwork, communication skills. You see, all these are again soft skills, interpersonal skills, team, how to work in a team, what communication, project management, and finance. And last one, but the not least one, is the lifelong learning, because we need to prepare the students that they are always a learner throughout their life. They do not need, as I said, a teacher or a course content or assessment method. If anybody wants to learn, the age is no bar, time is no bar, distance is no bar, but yes, that attitude has to be there into the student, that they can go for learning anytime. Okay, so these are POs and POs. Next is, in some cases these POs do not match effectively, especially like courses of, if I say fashion designing, okay, if I say architecture, if I say library. So these sometimes, these program outcomes which are fixed, they do not comply with the trades specific trade. So it has been given that program specific outcomes can be defined, that can be 3 to 4, where you feel that those program outcomes are not, they are not justifying or some portion of the program is not covered in the program outcomes, then the program specific outcomes can be defined. Like for civil part or for architecture part, it is very important for like design solutions to water supply or sewage. So these things have to be done. So PSOs can be defined, but again they have to be limited up to 2 to 4, not more than this. Okay. And yes, COs, I'm not catering to them much because tomorrow we'll be doing it. That is course outcomes. Every course has to be, the course outcome have to be included, and 4 to 6 course outcomes where action word and learning statements are there. Now I come to the first part, that is the alignment of COs and POs. As I showed you in the morning session, the triangulation of COs, POs, and POs. So every CO of every subject has to be mapped with the POs, and every PO has to be mapped with the POs, right? So, like if you see this, proper metrics has to be defined. So if you have 12 program outcomes and you have say 4 POs, so mapping should be there, whether it is a strong mapping or it is a, I'll show you if I, okay. So proper mapping has to be shown between I'll show you on other slides, but this is just the metrics. So the what is the correlation between the PO and the program outcomes. Similarly, POs and mission statement also. So they have to be articulated in the very beginning. Let me show you. Yeah. So this mapping is to be done. Okay, this is one example of mapping of CO with POs. So we have 12 POs and COs. So you have to show the contribution or the correlation. So like here it is shown by color, you can show it by the marks weightage also. Say on the scale of 1 to 3, if it is 3, it means it is strongly, like this is, it is strongly mapped. So it means first program outcome is strongly mapped, say physics 103. Strongly mapping is shown as number 3, medium correlation is number 2, and less correlation is 1, and zero correlation may be 0. So you can show it by color coding also, or you can show it by the marks also. Like if you have 3 marks, so it is fully met or fully correlated. If you have 2, it is partially met, and if it is 1, it is poorly met, and it is blank, it is not met. So every course outcome and every program outcome has to be properly met, properly planned, right? So and if your, so this is one example which all of you can maintain in. Nitika, thoda dheere bolo. So this is one example, like if you have course files, you can show the CO and PO relationship like this also. But this is your choice, or this can be uh, considered uniformly at the department level. That this is PO1, it is related to CO3, right? And assessment part also. I'll show you how we do that. So this is POs and POs and mission. Yeah, this is one example of CO-PO mapping and CO-PSO mapping. So again, in this, correlation is shown as the weightage. So 3 marks is the strong correlation with every PO and CO, and 2 marks for medium correlation, 1 mark for low correlation, and 0 for no correlation. And then they are averaged out, because at the end when we have to show whether the uh, it is met or not, program outcomes are attained or not, then this mathematical part always helps. Similarly, the COs and PSOs. Okay, so this is to be done at every level, whether it is theory or there is lab, and every teacher should put this mapping in their course file. So like in course file, otherwise you put your contents, your assignments, your marks, but along with it, this has to be part of your course file where the proper mapping of the articulation mapping of COs, POs and PSS are there. Okay, so this part is first part. Along with this, one more thing. Wait. Along with this, yeah, the assessment with the CO articulation. Again, usually I have not seen this type of mapping in the uh, this class file of the faculty. But if such mapping is done beforehand, what is this? If you see, it is the CO and the assessment metrics. That is like this is CO1. This is example of say concrete technology. So this is CO1 and it is this description, and it is mapped with PO1. So it means the mapping of CO1 and PO1 is there, right? Now, when we will talk about the attainment, so attainment will depend upon how we are assessing. What is the question paper, which questions we are asking, in which, whether mid semester, final, or whatsoever. So if this mapping is done, like if you see, say two exams are taken, T1 and T2, that is mid semester and final semester. Two assignments are taken, say one quiz is there and one lab. So in the beginning only, if the teacher made this mapping that okay, this CO, how will I check the attainment from the mid semester exam, and two questions will be there, two parts, and both of them will be related to CO1. I'm not saying that you make the questions, but at least you have an idea now that for CO1 attainment, I have to put the relevant question in the mid semester exam. Right? Similarly, now CO2, which is related to PO2 and PO3, there it will be assessed by assignment. CO3, which is PO2, PO3, will be assessed by two questions in the final exam and say one question in the assignment. And CO4 may be totally through the lab. So if this is already a clear picture is there in the teacher's mind, then during the attainment, there will be no issue. It will become easier that how we have to attain, right? So, okay, any questions up till now? Now I will show you the attainment part, right? So first thing is CO attainment has to be checked, then corresponding to that PO attainment has to be checked, and then PU attainment. So first and foremost is example the CO attainment, because every teacher for every subject for theory or lab, a student teacher has to maintain this data. So this is an example which we have made on the like Excel sheet. You can do it through programming or manually or computer, or nowadays we have the software available programs also for the CO attainment and all. So I'll just try to explain you this file which we have made to check whether the CO are attained or not. So this is like roll number, name of the student, right? And this is a first question, mid semester T1 question 1A, mid semester question 1B, question 2A, question 2B. And as we have already mentioned that were they are to check the attainment of CO1, and CO1 is related to PO1. Here we have already shown this, right? It is on the same sense. CO1 is related to PO1, and it will be checked, the attainment will be checked on the basis of question 1AB and question 2AB in mid semester. So on the same grounds, yeah. So question 1A, question 1B, question 2A, question 2B, they all cater to CO1. This is the maximum marks of every question, and this is PO1. These are the marks obtained by individual student. Okay. Those who have attempted, the marks are there. So total marks obtained, okay, and what are the total marks attempted or obtained. And then you find out the percentage, how much percentage of marks the student has attained. After this, you have to formulate a formula, or formulate a criteria, on the basis of which you can show, just give me, where on the basis of which you can show whether the course outcome has been attained or not. So this is the example. So if you see the target, or it was shown that if 60% of the students achieve 60% of marks, then we say that the course outcome has been attained, right? And if it is 60%, then we may mark it as okay, 1. If it is, say, more than 60% achieves 70% marks, then it can be moderate. If you say 60% more than 80%, it can be strong related. So this criteria has to be uniform for every faculty in that department. It can vary in the institute. For say computer, it may be different, for electronics, but in the department you should try to make it uniform. So on the basis of this, if, like, when you make this, so you see 77% the student is getting 78, 75, it means 333. Okay, it is more than 70%, so 3 marks. More than 70, 333. Less than 70 to 60 or less than 60, 2 marks. Okay, and if it is next page also, if it is there, so it is 1, then it is less marks. So then you can average it out. Sum total average grading 2.78. Similarly, this is for assignment CO2. For assignment 1, this must marks attained. This was the total. This is the percentage. So you are giving the marks. Total sum is this. Average grading is this, 2.78, 2.78. So if 2.78 CO1, 2.78 CO2, you can check whether your it is attained or not. So if you see 77%, so it means your attainment is there, it is yes. Again 77, your attainment is there, yes. CO3 72, अगर आपने 75 पे रखी है, then no attainment. If 55, then it is not attained. So basic thing is this, whether you have attained or not, right? So this proper mapping, see, CO1 grading distribution. So this is how you can show that CO has been attained for that particular course or not. So it is not a fixed thumb rule. You can define your thumb rule based on the subject, based on the topic, based on the course which you are following, right? But you have to show that how the mapping is done or how the mapping is attained. So once the CO mapping is done, then with that example we can show for the PO also, how the POs are attained with respect to the COs and POs, right? So then you can show for semester 1 PO1, semester wise also you can do. So all the mappings can be done. Semester 1 subject, this is one first semester, so this is subject wise, okay, average attainment. Then you can do for POs and POs, and then with the surveys also, similarly for the feedback, for the surveys, this all can be done. So this is how we have to go for the final COPO attainment. Okay, CO, right? So any
Good
question?
afternoon, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah.
Ma'am, actually, I have one question on this articulation matrix.
Yes, sir. Please.
Madam, for any subject, whenever we have an articulation matrix prepared, let's say I am having some COs in vertical column and POs in the horizontal. Sorry, here POs in these columns and COs in the rows.
Hmm.
Suppose a particular CO is not mapped with a particular PO.
Hmm.
Okay, and when I am taking average of that, whether I have to go by average method or I have to go by some method. If you have any articulation matrix, please can you display it on the screen?
As I showed you,
Suppose a particular PO is not mapped with a CO, then
I got your point. Yeah.
yeah.
So when you will average it out, then you mean to say that it will be. Let me show you. Okay, like this. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Yeah. And now, in case of PO7, CO1 is not mapped with PO7. CO2 is not mapped with PO7. Now, this 1.3 comes out to be 2 plus 1 plus 1. That is 4
4,
divided by
5.
3.
4
Okay.
divided by, yeah, maximum can be 3. So 4 divided by 3.
So, okay, 4 divided by. So, if this cell is not filled, it will not take this part into consideration, and we have to go by average method only.
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Any other question?
No, ma'am. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Okay. So now we come to that when to assess, because assessment, as I said, the core. So first one is, okay, I'll come to it. First one is the POs. So you have to assess after 4 to 5 years of the graduation. We all know program outcomes upon graduation and course outcomes upon course completion for every course. So PO assessment tool can be, as I said, employer satisfactory survey, alumni survey, placement records, higher education records. This can be used, and they are done again yearly basis. PO assessment will be like end of course survey, okay, like we are doing the feedback part, instructor reports, that can be quarterly also, not necessarily always at the end, department performance, student exit survey when the students are just leaving, alumni survey which is yearly, alumni advisory board, it can be once or twice, student advisory can be once or twice. This is not fixed, as I'm saying, you can modify them as per your requirement. Then CO assessment, end of surveys, student comments, rubrics, internal assessment, home assessment, semester performance, course performance. Right? So this is the summary. You can just go through this. This is summary of assessment tools of POs and COs and their frequency and how they are assessed, by whom they should be reviewed and how they should be assessed. Okay. So this is again assessment of POs. COs. So now I'll talk about the administrative support for OBE. So for the proper implementation of OBE, obviously, first of all, every course should have a course coordinator, right? So to assess the attainment of course, whether you are teaching a lab or you're taking a class, or even if there are some subjects in which multiple teachers might be taking, like maths or physics or humanities subject which everyone is learning. So one teacher may not be taking that class. So they will also maintain their separate course files and they will be the course coordinator. But if number of teachers are there, then one program coordinator has to be there who will interact with the course coordinator, and then overall POs and CO mapping has to be done. Because when, say, suppose let's maths, so maths is being learned by electronics also, computer, electrical, everyone. So their COs and their POs have to be same. So their mapping has to be checked collectively. But they are being taught by different teachers. So there should be one program coordinator which will coordinate all the course coordinator programs and then finally come up with the attainment of POs and COs. Right? So program coordinator. Then you should have some advisory body that may be for POs also, alumni advisory and industrial advisory body, or at least representative from there should be there. And above all, there should be a quality assurance cell. For the colleges, those are going for NAC, there the quality IQAC cell is the most important requirement, that is the internal quality assurance cell, which keeps a track over the entire system of the college. CO, not only CO mapping, but formulation, their mapping, their attainment, right? How the teachers are doing, how pass percentage, placement, entire data has to be with the quality assurance cell. So semester wise data, program wise data, year wise data, everything will be the responsibility of that quality assurance cell. And the chairman of that quality assurance cell is equivalent to the director. He has such a power. Okay, so everything is done. So this is the administrative support, minimum administrative support which every institute should have for the proper implementation of OBE, right? So with this, I will bring to my session to an end, and just a small assignment. I'll give it to you. Any questions? Then I'll come to this. I think either I'm making the things too much clear that there are no questions, or it is all clear, right? That anyway. Yeah. So basically, this is the administrative support, course coordinator, module or program coordinator, program assessment committee, department advisory board, and IQAC cell. As I said, you can put the industry advisory body also. You can put here. So the outcome based education is an iterative process because planning, doing, checking, and acting. And it involves careful assessment and evaluation of all components, and appropriate changes are introduced. So, a sense of OBE is that all attainment analysis is made to provide continuous improvement through either course delivery or assessment and curriculum. So, this is the essence of OBE. With this, thank you for patience learning. And if there are no questions, first of all, I'm open to questions. If there are no questions, then I'll be giving you the assignment part.